but only you, no other characters, you have no companion characters, and you're just Arbiter of Death, and you just run through it like that. Arbiter of Death all the way through. Be interesting.
So you're a paladin.
Yes. Alex, it's time for us to eat our Wheaties.
Wheaties?
Yeah.
Not Frosted Flakes? Beanies.
No. Too much sugar. You gotta eat some. You gotta get that roughage. You gotta get some fiber in your diet, my friend. You gotta get some fiber. You gotta get some protein. You gotta get all of these essential nutrients in your body. Caffeine. No empty calories. Caffeine. Yeah, you gotta get caffeine in your system. One of the five major food groups. Caffeine.
Yeah. Also, one of the 6 major senses of taste.
Caffeine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
It's right there.
It's right there, yeah. If you're wondering why we're able to stay awake, it's because of the caffeine food group. Absolutely. But, oh yeah, good. Make sure you get some of that in your system. I'm sure that's gonna help. But no, actually on today's episode, we're gonna be talking about nutrition in your diet of gaming. And
yeah, that's how we're gonna phrase it.
Sure, nutritional games on this episode of Total Pebble Knockdown. And I am your co-host, Nathan.
I am Alex.
Who is the other co-host, which makes 2 co-hosts. Not 3, not 4, 2. It's very efficient that way.
If it was 3, it'd be a tro-host.
A tro-host, yeah.
Or a tree-host.
A tree-host. A tree-host.
Tree-host.
Yeah. Or a triage, because really... Yeah. We do need medical attention. But in the meantime, we are going to be discussing the idea of nutritional games. We were talking about comfort food for games, when we were talking about junk food for games. Now we're talking about the stuff that you actually need to like fuel your system. The stuff that's high in fiber. Your high fiber diet.
You keep using the analogies, but I don't think they make sense without saying what we think nutritional games are.
So here's the definition I'm going to give you for it. And this is mine. You tell me if you think it's correct. These are games that give you a greater understanding of the medium itself. It's like the required reading list of games. These are the ones that really explain to you more the knowledge of like what you can do with the genre and what you can do with the medium itself. Like the ones that they always do those giant think pieces on are kind of in that vein. They might be the ones that are a little bit tricky for you to even get into. They're probably dense. They probably have a lot that you're going to be, going through to really understand them. They are not ones that you will play passively. Like, they're not going to be second screen experiences, so to speak. They're kind of going to be ones you're going to have to lock into. And there are examples that we can give in different genres. But in general, I have some, don't worry. For instance, one of my favorites is Deus Ex. And one thing that I think Deus Ex does is, in addition to having a storyline that no matter how many times I run through it, I still don't fully understand, is that I think it's a really good educational tool to teach about, like, the open design of worlds that the immersive sim genre started to do, where you can approach situations in a myriad of different ways to explain that you can build a game in a way that you can look at it in so many different aspects, and they just don't run linearly in that fashion.
On that note, would you consider Oblivion then an immersive sim?
I don't know if I would consider Oblivion
because there were quests you could do multiple ways. Even Skyrim. Sure. There are quests they don't tell you that you can do these options, and you can just do these options.
I think that, what I would say is, I'd say that, like, Oblivion and Skyrim, and, even Tomorrowland to some extent, I think that they learned a lot from that kind of design of an immersive sim. The earlier, though, Elder Scrolls, like, if you were to look at Daggerfall, they didn't so much. When I think about immersive sims, I mostly think about, like, you have an objective, which... you're talking about Skyrim, that seems to be included. And then there's a lot of things that the game is not necessarily telling you, or even the game designers might have programmed in, but that are made available to you. That first level on Liberty Island is a really good example of it if you play nothing else, because even from the very beginning, Paul basically says, you can take one of these 3 guns at the very beginning on the docks, and you can have this silent pistol, you can have this long-range sniper rifle, or you can have a GEP gun, which is basically a portable rocket launcher. And this kind of immediately says, oh, I'm going to have options as to what I'm going to do. I can hack these turrets, I could turn them against my enemies, I could turn them off entirely, if I have the strength necessary, I can put boxes up on the backside of the statue and just get around the first level entirely up to the first part without going through any of the guards, take them out from long distances. I can disable them from the background. I have lots of different possibilities as to what I can do, to the point where that game and subsequent games basically also said you don't have to kill anybody in the game, which is one of the things that I had really not seen to that point, which is like, literally, if you want to, you can total stealth with no actual engagement with the enemies. You can just work around all of them right through to the end of the game if you wanted to play that way. And the game doesn't always make that clear, but you start to realize that they are giving you the tools to do those things if you wanted to and react thusly. The two that I need to get out of the way, they're going to be the elephant in the room. I know that you hate talking about them, so I'm just going to say them right now. Outer Worlds and Spec Ops: The Line. And the reason why I mentioned those is
Outer
because...
Worlds or Outer Wilds?
Outer Wilds, sorry. Outer Wilds. I put Outer Worlds because I always think of Outer Worlds because frankly...
They came out
really
about the same time and had almost the same names.
Same year. Literally same year. Yeah. Outer Wilds, because I think it was a great way to show how you could do the idea of a clockwork world. You know, like that you have the time frame and basically do Groundhog's Day in space, you know, and how you can make that knowledge work for you over the course of time over and over again.
It's definitely... Outer Wilds is great, and I have not played it because it's just not the type of game I generally would play, but I've watched complete playthroughs of it and know all the stuff that goes on, and the storytelling is amazing, and the way they did it seems really amazing. Just not something I would probably enjoy, because time crunch, don't really enjoy those. Right. But the systems, basically they went, hey, we're going to build a world that's very systemic in what happens. It's a 22-minute cycle, and everything will happen the same way every cycle, regardless. It's about learning. The entire game is you learning what's going on and learning how to deal with it and best use those systems to your advantage and how to navigate that in a way that you learn everything you can to do the things that you need to do.
Right.
And so it's really interesting because not a lot of games are out there that let you go, all right, well, I mean, roguelikes maybe, but not really. Roguelites maybe, but not really. Because they change. This doesn't change. This is the same thing every time.
Yep, absolutely.
So you're just learning your way through this game.
Yeah.
Over and over and over and over again. You're repeating the same loop until you finish. And I think that's great because it means it doesn't matter your skill level as a player going into it, because the game is designed to make you learn as you go.
Sure.
And the storytelling is just great.
Right. I think I've mentioned it in the past that Outer Wilds was one I tried, and for me, it was not working. It's one that I feel like I do have to go back to, but what I did appreciate, and the reason why I put it in the nutritional games anyway, is because that way of designing worlds and then using that to explain your storyline through it is kind of revelatory in terms of what it did. You know, it's that kind of thing that isn't indicative of other things in its genre, or it might not even have been really a genre all of its own. And then Spec Ops: The Line, I know people talk about the twist parts and everything, but what I talk about that I don't think gets discussed as much is that it did a really good job at weaving a narrative through doing an action game. Because it asks you to be like, hey, it's a cover-based shooter, but then you're actually dealing with this narrative that is the slow breakdown of your psyche, essentially, as the character, as you're going through the action game while you're playing the action game. Which, again, was surprising, and if you were playing it passively, you might not have got that, but if you're active and locked in, you start to realize that so much of that storytelling is happening while you're in the middle of firefights that are explaining what's happening with the main characters, that where it's like, where did this person go in the middle of, like, people rappelling down and things blowing up around you and all of this stuff that's happening. I think it's one of those things that's usually overlooked because people want to talk about the Heart of Darkness storyline, but I'd like to discuss how it was utilized inside of the framing of that game to keep you engaged while it's telling that story, which is really good. So I wanted to get those two out of the way because I know that you like you don't need to hear any more.
I've listened to enough video essays about those two games.
Yes.
As much as I love Outer Wilds and don't care about Spec Ops Line, I've listened to people talk and wax poetically about them for hours.
Right,
Thank you, Jacob Geller, for making yet another video about Spec Ops Line.
I like Jacob Geller, but yeah, I don't need to hear about Spec Ops for the 50th time. I know, I've played it through to the end. It's not even all that long a game, but it's a good game. Love the game. I put it in my top 20, but I don't need to hear about it more. But also, actually, one for my top 20, Psychonauts. It came out when there was sort of like a leveling off point of like the platformer. And so platformers were starting to get very samey. And what Double Fine did with Psychonauts, and I think iterated even more in Psychonauts 2, is this idea of like, how can we do story development and talk about character design and everything through the levels themselves? And how can we really change up the idea, like just turn the idea of level design on its head in this way? And how would we do that? We're going inside people's brains and we're showing like what their mental state is as the level design, and we're modeling everything after that. So what do you collect? Well, you have 5 pieces of emotional baggage you've got to unlock. You have deep secrets that are in vaults that are stored away in the psyches, in these back rooms. There are all of these, like, figments of your imagination are the collectibles in the game. You're like, the Milkman conspiracy alone, where you're, like, going through doors that lead to hallways that don't seem to go to anywhere, because it's a conspiratorial mind of, like, these interconnected worlds that you're going through, really changed the way I saw level design and what you could do with level design, because before that, I was mostly just playing a lot of these platformer games where it's like, here's the ice level, here's the fire level, here's the desert, here's the haunted mansion, and that was the first time where I was like, whoa, we're really changing the formula up, because Lungfishopolis does not look like any of those where you're just a giant kaiju destroying the poor lungfish of Lungfishopolis, because the lungfish at that point now sees you as a big scary monster instead of it being the big scary monster. So I consider that to be a nutritional game because I feel like I got a much better understanding of that genre, and I appreciated a lot more what you could do with it after playing that. And then Psychonauts 2, for the record, also really did a wonderful job of explaining even the ethics of doing the diving into people's brains from the very beginning, which is not something you usually expect.
I think a nutritional game that's older would probably be, for me, Myst.
Oh, yes.
And I would say, because for the time and being able to do that world building and that level of, like, puzzle design to make you really kind of have to think and tinker and hunker down and figure out the things, and not giving you any hints, you know. The game, I remember when I got it, and the manual had, if you're really lost, there's a single hint on the back of this book. And it was like, check out the map in the library.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the only hint they gave you.
That's it.
And it's just, you had to figure out everything on your own. Absolutely everything. And it did that, and it wove that narrative that it had. You know, the narrative is kind of, it's a little weird. It's FMV at the time, you know, it's what the big craze was. And, you know, the brother's trapped in the books, and the father trapped in the book. And it's like, and it had 3 endings, too. But, like, you kind of get the lore bits as you go through it. And the lore's fine. I don't care. It's not over the top. It's not crazy impressive, but it's not bad, I guess.
No.
But, like, all those different planes or locations and all those different types of puzzles and the ages, thank you. The ages and all the different puzzles you do and all the different ways you can do puzzles. There's, like, one that's just sound-based.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them are tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you
get the limits of the hardware too. Like the limits of the medium itself were really stretched in what you could do with it because of that. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I would call that nutritional because it makes you have to be engaged. You absolutely have to be engaged.
You gotta lock in. You're really gonna have to focus on it. You're gonna have to focus on it. Yeah.
Now, a game I want to say a lot of people would probably find nutritional.
Yes.
And I don't know if we're going to agree with this or not. I don't personally find it nutritional, but Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh, no, I will agree with you on that one. Yes, absolutely. It is dense.
Super dense.
Yeah.
And the problem is, and the reason I say we might not agree that it is at the same time, is because both of us have canonically a problem with CRPGs, I think.
I like CRPGs, but it is very tricky for me to be able to play them for long periods of time.
My problem, and we've been over this a few times, my problem with CRPGs is just they're too dense.
They are.
They can be. I don't have the bandwidth.
Yeah, and Baldur's Gate 3 is an excellent example of that, because if people are familiar with, like, Larian Studios and their model, is that there's so many interconnected systems and dynamic aspects to the world of how you can utilize stuff in that world.
I don't even mind that. The core gameplay is fine.
Sure.
My problem isn't with that. I love that. If we're going at Baldur's Gate based on the amount of things you can do in the game world to alter the environments and do all that stuff, perfect. Absolutely love it. Yes. I think it's way too dense in the lore aspect. Every character you come across has 16 dialogue options.
Yes.
From the get-go, I can sit there and go right back to camp after I get my party, and I can spend 2 hours just chatting with the peeps, learning everything about them, and they'll divulge every bit of information they have to me.
It is novels worth of
and that's a CRPG problem, because you can do that in any CRPG. It doesn't matter if you're ever going to see this character again. They've got 13 pages of dialogue to give you.
Yes.
Neverwinter Nights, same problem I had. I'd sit there and go, I just want to get all the things, I want to learn everything I can from you guys. And I sit there and I go, this is a lot of information I don't need or care about or have any use for currently.
Right. And the thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is that it's giving you all of that information, and you also start to realize that your interactivity with these characters is going to also be influential to the rest of the storyline, too. Yeah. As you're learning all of this stuff and interacting with characters.
It makes me just want to do like a Dark Urge playthrough and just kill off all the other party members.
Yeah, it would be interesting to play that way.
Then you only have to worry about yourself.
Yeah, just do a homicide run where you're just whipping through everything. I tried playing Outer Worlds that way one time, and it's something. It's
well, I mean, you get plenty of options through that meeting your party members. Like, you can kill Gale right in the portal. Easily. You can kill Lae'zel, I assume, right at the get-go. I assume right on the ship if you wanted to, or when she's in the cage.
Do you even have to let Shadowheart off the ship? I think you might just be able to let Shadowheart die on the ship.
Yeah, I think you could just let her die. Astarion, you can murder him for trying to kill you.
Well, yeah.
Karlach, will want you to kill. Also, he's, got a demon or something like that. So, like...
Yeah. It's real easy to have at least one of them go. because they're in conflict from the get.
Just take Will if you like him, because Eldritch Blast is great, and just go you and Will.
Yeah, just take Eldritch Blast. Just be a warlock. Take Eldritch Blast, and then you don't even have to worry about that. I however, was playing a bard, so. Although I guess as a bard, maybe I could take it as a free spell, but I do find that like Baldur's Gate 3 is very dense, and every time that you went to any kind of a colony, you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to. I could spend so much time here. And I did have to kind of like go, okay, we're not going to do all of that. I'm going to move on to the next section. But then you really do get lots of options and lots of potential on what you're going to do in that game. And almost every interaction that you have is going to have a lot of possibilities to it.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of potential about what's going to happen all the way up to the end. So you really start thinking about it. You have to think about it.
And I can't. I can't do that. And my attention span and the bandwidth I have, it's not there.
And it's unfortunate, because like I will, to this day, I will say Baldur's Gate 3 is an excellent game. And it will be more excellent to the people who can do that. It was good for me, but I'm sure it's excellent to the people that can dive into it more than I had the capacity to.
Maybe what I do is I just go in like you did with mods, and I make it so that my characters can just one-hit kill everything.
I kind of want to do that now.
Because then I can just breeze through it to get the story.
I think in the base game, you only get to be like, level 12, 14 or something, I think. Yep. I want to just... Could you just build a character that's like a level 20 character out of the gate or something?
Just
build a super character completely. By yourself. Yeah, but only you, no other characters, you have no companion characters, and you're just Arbiter of Death, and you just run through it like that. Arbiter of Death all the way through. Be interesting.
So you're a paladin.
Yes. I put here What Remains of Edith Finch and The Walking Dead, the Telltale series, as examples of the elevation of a walking sim. Because I think walking sims are almost always going to be in that whole nutritional games category, because they're very, very light on gameplay, and they're almost all about narrative, and you really have to be
I don't think I agree with you. I don't think you can categorize all walking sims as those, because there's a lot of them that are not narrative, and doubly so.
Fair.
Have you seen the several hundred Backrooms games on Steam? They are all walking sims.
Okay. I guess I just haven't played enough walking sims.
90% of them don't have narrative.
Yeah, or really content worth of all. So I guess
or the Dreamcore or Pool Rooms games. Yeah, there's tons of those.
I guess I should say the walking sims that I usually bother to play.
Yeah, the ones that have narratives.
Seem more nutrition. Yeah,
like Firewatch.
Yeah, Firewatch, great example of that too. Walking Dead as the episodic piece. Like, Telltale did a really good job of that, where you do have narrative choices throughout the entirety. You have to be locked into that. It's all about the narrative. It's all about the character decisions.
Like episodic games.
It is again, like I said about the nutritional games being, like, giving you greater understanding of the medium, episodic games are ones that you sometimes have to work your way through. Like, the
issue I have with that, not those ones specifically, is that the mascot horror genre, as it were, a lot of those have taken up episodic.
I cannot tell you that, like, a Poppy's Playtime is in any way, shape, or form the same kind of game as, like, Walking Dead, the Telltale series.
Allegedly, it's not a bad... From someone that's played it, apparently Poppy Playtime is actually better than expected.
I've heard good things about it.
Agree.
Yeah, Bendy and the Ink Machine, all of that. I've heard that there's good ones, but it's a very different kind of game. The Walking Dead is mostly you get into these scenarios, and now there's these sequences, and you have to make choices in those sequences that narratively change how you're influenced in the game itself. And then What Remains of Edith Finch is a nice example of telling this very kind of it's a sad story about the Finch family. that Edith Finch is going through to find out, like, what is she going to bring about her child, essentially. And going through this house and basically watching as every member of the Finch family sees their final hours, and you watch how each one of them dies in these different kinds of vignettes that you're playing through, that are all different from each other and like laid out aesthetically different from each other. It's a wild game, but I think I got a much better appreciation for the idea of that walking sim as a genre by seeing what they were able to do with it. And then stylistically, there's a whole sequence in there for one of the Finch members of the Finch family that's laid out like you're in a comic book. Like, it's completely different than everything else that's in the game. And it's sad, and the ending is kind of brutal, but it really does, it earns that by the end, because it's told you that story in a very short time frame, 2-3 hours tops, to go through that entire thing. So, yeah.
I can think of 2 more.
Cool.
I haven't played one of these.
Sure.
The first one that I have not played, I would say Alan Wake.
I have tried Alan Wake. I couldn't do Alan Wake.
I haven't played it either, but I've seen it played, and I know that its Remedy is insane.
Remedy is insane. I've tried a lot of Remedy's games, and the one that I really did love was Control.
Yep. And that's actually got a lot of crossover from Alan Wake's universe, too.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And it's very SCP vibe oriented, which I think is cool. I have it. I have not played it yet. But yeah, Alan Wake, I hear it's just, especially it's like second one, didn't it? Like get one of the Game of the Year type
Alan Wake 2
things.
was up for Game of the Year. Yeah. For
so like it's obviously it's great. People think it's great. Just the depth of what they put into it for the experience is wonderful. A different one for a different reason, Pacific Drive, which you've got to retry at some point. I'm
going to go back to it. I'm going to try it again.
And I think you played a bit of it for the demo, and you can get pretty far in there too. I think that would count for me because there's a lot of lore, a lot of character building with Oppie and the others. I don't remember their names now.
Yeah.
Like you get a lot of the lore, you get a lot of the bits. The world and lore is really interesting because it's like, all right, well, what happened? What are these anomalies? And it's like, there's a lot going on in there, and you get it, and the narrative is there, but it's like also pretty serene most of the time while you're doing it. For the most part, up until it's not. So it's not even a walking sim, it's a driving sim. But then you get out of your car to do shit. And it's like, I didn't realize how much I wanted the game where this is like the game loop. And there's another one coming out at some point that I have on my wish list that's not Pacific Drive, but it is like you're in the car, you're doing things like that, and you can get out of the car, customize the car, do things like that. And I'm like, I need this. I think it might be something with like an RV or a snow runner or something like that. Similar to that. I don't remember. Let's see if I can find on my wish list really quick. Fox, that's what it is. Post-apocalypse courier service.
Oh, okay.
So it says, build delivery vehicles to survive the post-apocalypse. Go alone or with up to 4 friends as you navigate treacherous environments, make deliveries, customize vehicles, scavenge for parts, and grow your delivery business.
God damn it, that sounds good.
Yeah, doesn't it? I saw it and I was like, oh, this looks good though. I'm like, this looks good.
That sounds like if I could actually like do vehicle deliveries as the courier in New Vegas. You know,
so that's on my wish list. It looks great. It's the studio's first game, but hopefully, I'm sure it'll be full of a little bit of jank, but if they do it well, that sounds so fun.
I'm okay with a little bit of jank. Sometimes it's charming.
Yeah.
But I did, like, Pacific Drive is, the game loop as it was presented in its just, like, default state. I didn't like that there just didn't feel like there was any progress when I beefed it, because I didn't know what I was supposed to do when I got to the first area.
It's a learning process.
It's a learning process, yeah. But I did think it was a neat idea. Like, it's a cool concept. And I'm glad that I tried it. I definitely am. And now that you've told me that there are modifier changes that you can do so that you don't lose everything if you die.
You can customize it too. It's like you only lose stuff that you picked up, or you don't lose stuff that you crafted, or you can customize that stuff. So that's
probably good because it removes a little bit of like the rogue-like. It makes it more of a light version of that. But yeah, no, Pacific Drive. It is definitely one of those games though that you gotta be in it. You gotta be there for it in order to do it. A couple others that I want to talk about though. Portal. I think Portal is a really great example because I had never seen them be able to utilize physics in the way that they utilized them in the original Portal before they did that one. The way that they could use that for puzzle design. Like, that is kind of revelatory. Like, nowadays, people might look at it as quaint, but at the time, when Portal came out...
Physics-based puzzles, yeah.
Yeah. Physics-based puzzles, yeah. We utilize them more now, and it definitely expanded a lot with, like, Portal 2 for storyline and everything, but that original game is such a good touchstone to really understand what you could do with physics in a game. Just the basic idea of what you could use as physics to create a puzzle game. Now we have so many that kind of iterate on it, because I've played like Cube and like all of those that take different kinds of aspects and make puzzle games out of them. But Portal was a really good, like, if I was to say part of required reading list, might not be your cup of tea, but the kind of game that will give you a better appreciation for what you can do with the genre.
At least play a couple test chambers.
Yeah, at least a couple tests. But I mean, the main game is not that long. You can get through it
it's not.
quick.
It's like 6 hours maybe. I have one that you're gonna find contentious.
Okay.
Minecraft.
Yeah, no, I get that though. I understand that. I do.
For what it did to the genre and the amount of what you can do in it, plus the amount of modability to it, not for the amount of depth of lore or anything like that.
Right.
For what it did to the genre, and the fact that all the mods that you can do so much with, and then like Redstone. Come on. Seriously, have you seen what you can do with Redstone in Minecraft?
No.
Have you? Not. People have made working copies of Pokemon Red in Minecraft. Fully working with Redstone. Basically, you take the thing, because Redstone acts as a circuit.
Yeah.
You use dust trails, you play them out, do different things, comparators, observers, things like that. People make circuit boards. They literally make the game
working circuit boards.
So you're sitting there at a little console where you've got some buttons and levers and stuff you can push, and you do that, and you watch in front of you as this giant thing that's made of pistons and like different wool pieces. They're using a Game Boy like black and white.
Yeah.
So you're looking there, and this thing is huge because it's got to be able to, like, everything is just the same size blocks.
Yeah.
So they're doing pixel art in blocks that you're seeing from far away. And so you're looking at the fucking Game Boy screen, and you're watching as you actually can play Pokemon in the game.
Yeah.
Like, they just rebuilt the entire thing. It's like, that's insane.
Oh,
they have made working video phones. No, not video phones. Video phones? They have made working phones.
Yeah,
in Minecraft that can use the internet to call outside of Minecraft. I think they used it to order pizza.
Yeah.
So, as a medium to do insane shit with.
Yeah. On that point, I think I can appreciate Minecraft more as a tool for doing things than the game itself. Like as a game itself, I was never that big into
Skyrim,
it. Yeah, it's like Skyrim but blockier.
Well, I mean, Skyrim itself or Fallout itself are just tools to deliver mods.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I personally, like, when I play Fallout, like, I think that it has really rich, like, world building and stuff like that. And even the Elder Scrolls.
Well, how many times have you saved Sean?
Twice, probably.
Of how many times you played Fallout 4?
No, I've played Fallout 4 more, but most people that have played it, no, you don't want to save Sean. Don't bother.
Why do I care? You didn't make me attached to him.
Yeah, and also,
now rename
him
him Jackie Wells, and I'll save him.
Also, if you know what happens with Sean in that, it's like, oh, Sean kind of sucks now. But more importantly, like those feel more like games. Minecraft really did feel more like the sandbox. It's a sandbox. It's built to be a sandbox. It's built for you to just kind of go and tool around and do things and build things. So I think that as a tool, it has more meaning to it than as a game itself, like one that you really dive into and get immersed in its world. The other thing I'd say Minecraft is really good for, and one of the fundamental things, is how many people really took a liking and started to get inspired to be in games or to do design themselves because of what Minecraft brought around. You know, I think that beyond the game itself, it is foundational for that reason. And then the other one, which I hate to say it, but it is true, is I do have to put Dark Souls in this category. One, because it basically is, I know it's not technically even the first for FromSoft, but it really is the thing that put Souls-likes as a genre on the map, really the start of that advent, and really had unique ways of doing world design, mechanics, storylines, those interconnected, like, pathways that you only have, like, one way of getting through that open up new paths and have, like, blocks to them where you have to get through this obstacle so that you can loop back around. Like, those kinds of puzzle maze-like labyrinthine, the idea of having the real possibility of losing your progress because your souls are lost to you if you can't go and collect them again, and running back to those mechanics that are utilized for everything now were really Dark Souls. I know folks, Demon Souls came out before that, but Dark Souls is really when when it really took off, because I did try Demon Souls. It does have all those hallmarks. I know it. Demon Souls is also way more frustrating than Dark Souls, to be honest with you.
Well, I kind of hate that Dark Souls came around and did that. Not personally, because I hate Dark Souls, but I mean, I don't care for it. But like, it took and replaced the entire like combat, hack and slash genre.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, it's so rare to see a non-Souls-like game that's, like, melee combat like that these days.
Yes.
Everyone wants to play Souls-like. I want to play hack and slash. I want to play more Devil May Cry. I want to play more God of War.
I guess Black Myth Wukong was kind of like that.
Allegedly. I haven't played it, but heard good things. It did well in the Game Awards.
I've heard very good.
We care about the Game Awards, so...
Maybe this was one of the reasons why Elden... I don't know if I like the design of Elden Ring as much as like the classic Souls design, maybe because it was so open world. Like, there is something to be said about like the Dark Souls or ones I liked more personally, like Eliza P, where you are a little bit honed in so that there are pathways, where you have to go down and you have to find your way around these places. Instead of being as open as an Elden Ring is in its design. But I am remiss to say, even though it might not necessarily be something that I have trouble playing Dark Souls, but I do think that it would fall into the nutritional games category, because it really is the kind of thing that you almost have to work through, and you have to learn about the combat mechanics. You have to learn about the different enemies that you're going... You have to learn about the game by playing the game. I can't just open a chest, because the chest might be a mimic, and it eats me. And it teaches you that by getting eaten by a mimic chest. Then you learn, oh, I guess the chests can eat me now. It's stuff like that where it teaches you about the game by you playing the game and failing at the game, and then having to figure out how not to fail at the game anymore. Could you not suck anymore? Basically.
Good. I prefer games that let me fail forward instead of backward, so...
And this might have been the reason why I had such a problem with Dark Souls originally, and Demon Souls too, because Demon Souls doesn't even say let you fail backwards. Demon Souls says let you fail backwards, and fuck you, we're gonna make it harder now. That's what Demon Souls did, and it's like, okay, really guys, why? Why are you doing this to me? But yeah, no, I fail forwards. One of the things that helped, side note, is with like the Surge and Surge 2, banking your currency, because you have scrap in that instead of the souls. You can bank your scrap when you get to a thing, and so you can just bank it, use it later, and start with 0 when you go back out in the world instead of carrying all of it with you. Major improvement so that you don't have as much backwards, as much backwards momentum. Huge advantage when they started doing things like that. Liza P, like, having the ability to, like, really customize and rework all of your weaponry, and, like, customize it to a way that feels good for you, like, what weapons actually work for the secondary attack, first attack, like, that customization aspect, loved how they did that. But Dark Souls is really where it really takes off and solidifies that entire genre. And if you want to know the roots of any of those that came before, you may have to go through Dark Souls. And I know that it's meant a lot more to some people than it did to me. And there are some people that will talk about the positive psychological effects of finishing Dark Souls. For me, continually failing at Dark Souls did not make me happy, and made me very, very sad as a person, and frustrated. So, but yeah, there are those. You mentioned one that you had not played. There are a few that are on my list of ones that I think I would have to play for better understanding that I have not. Disco Elysium, I have it. Have not played it. Hear it's amazing. But again, all narrative. Disco Elysium is all narrative all the time. It's not combat at all. Tyranny. Again, it's a CRPG.
I have that one.
Yeah. Again, CRPGs.
From what I remember of playing, and my memory sucks, but when I believe I enjoyed what I played of it, it can be a lot. It's not as in-depth as like Baldur's Gate though, so it's probably be easier for you.
And then I also put the original Witcher. And the reason why I put the original Witcher is because I think that I have to play it at some point, maybe to get a better grasp on the storyline that we get to in like Witcher 3. I played a little bit of Witcher 2. I have heard that it's rough. I've heard the original Witcher is rough by comparison. But I also think that it's one of those games I might have to play because I've got to eat my Wheaties, so that I have a better understanding and appreciation of the game world and narrative that they were putting out by the time you get to Witcher 3, which Witcher 3 is amazing. Witcher 3 is a great game. But I am curious about, like, the original part of that and how you get to that point. Sometimes you have to do that. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about is what I'm calling the real roughage. And what I mean by the real roughage is games so notoriously, like, bad that you kind of need to play them to find out why they're bad. Like, you need to analyze why they're bad, and I have one example in this that I did, and it was Daikatana. I tried playing Daikatana because I'm like, okay, I know this is legendary for how terrible it is. And it's Ion Storm, and Ion Storm also made one of my favorite games, Deus Ex. They made that. And Daikatana, I think, came out like the same year as Deus Ex. It's like, they couldn't have possibly made like one of the most legendary games of all time, and also one of the most notoriously terrible games of all time, right? So I tried playing Daikatana. It's not good. I'm just gonna say, it really is not good. I think it might get more hatred than it really deserves, but it is not good and not fun. And I did not enjoy my time playing it and did not want to continue playing it after the first level. But I am glad I did, because it swept the system. It cleared me out a little bit. It was a hard one to get through.
Maybe whenever you need a swap up of gaming and you're in a lull and you don't know what to do and you're kind of feeling, I don't know what's going on, you should just play a level of Daikatana.
Yeah, and I
do that until you beat the game.
Yeah. Here's what I will say about Daikatana. Playing a level in Daikatana gives you a much better appreciation of every other game you play. Because you will realize, oh, okay, this is how level design should have worked. Because they're not doing it. They're not doing it here. I died a lot of times in Daikatana. Like, it's called
Daikatana.
It's Daikatana is what it really should have been called. But it's even now, just trying to explain why it doesn't work is a little bit tricky, but it is very much like a shooter game that wanted to be punishing, but it wants to be punishing by the fact that, like, here's mosquito bugs that are coming at you, and they're probably going to kill you, and then you're going to go back to a save point that's, like, at the beginning of the level, and try again, I guess, just to really mess with you. Like, you don't necessarily know how to go through this level. I couldn't find my way around most of the time. I didn't know where I'm supposed to go half the time. I ended up finishing the level when I didn't even know that it was going to automatically finish the level for me. When I was like, oh, I thought I had other things to explore. Nope, you're moving on to the next level now. Okay, I really would have liked to... Yeah, I was like, but there was this other thing. I think there was secrets down there. Nope, sorry, you're moving on to the next level. Play through it again if you'd like to find that. No, I don't want to play through it again. I don't want to play through this again. I don't like that. I don't like these giant sky bridges that I fall off into water constantly. I don't like these things. Don't make more of these. I'm getting through these tunnels. I have no idea where these tunnels go. Why are you making me go down them?
Wow.
How do I access half this shit? I don't know. I don't know how to get through the door. It's that stuff where it feels disorienting. I guess the best way to put Daikatana is it feels very disorienting. There are some games you play because you know you're going to get a better appreciation for every other game you play by seeing how it's done wrong. When you see how it's done wrong, you understand how much you take for granted the things that go right. and how, like, oh, you can really appreciate how good a level design is in even some basic games by playing ones where the level design does not feel intuitive and feels very bad, and you die constantly and you don't even understand why half the time. That's the thing. I feel like you do get something out of it, but it might not be fun. I mean, those are the kinds of nutritional games that I think of. There's ones that you really enjoy because they give you a much better sense and appreciation for the games. There's ones that you play through because you understand that they're, like, revolutionizing genre, that they're doing things that have never been done before. And then, like I was saying with Daikatana, there are ones that make you just appreciate when things are done really well because you've now seen them done really poorly. And you understand that now, and you are not going to eat that mushroom ever again. You are
probably not.
I've learned how to properly make that dish by virtue that somebody gave me food poisoning. So, learned my lesson. So yeah, I think that that's what I would consider nutritional games. Would you give a different kind of definition than the one that I had given about giving greater understanding? Not necessarily.
Probably not.
Yeah,
let me think and yawn.
Yeah, let me think and yawn at the same time. Yawn thinking. That's the best kind.
Yinking.
Yinking. That's our new word for the day. Yinking. Games that give you a greater understanding of the medium itself, I feel, is a good way of framing nutritional games, because that does give you, like, that nutrient-rich sort of experience where it might not even be the kind of thing that you really enjoy playing, although you can enjoy it, but you just feel more enriched for the fact that you played it because you understand that people are pushing what the genre can do and doing something interesting with it. Sometimes failing, but sometimes just as the history itself to explain more so that you have a better understanding of gaming in general. Sometimes you're going to play terrible ones. I'd say if I ever got my hands on like E.T., the Atari one, I'd probably play it, even though I know it's terrible, because I know that it's kind of important to understand why they ended up in the landfill. Because it's a piece of history. Like, it's now a historical piece of media for the fact that it literally got buried. People thought that was just an urban legend until it turned out nope. They did that. They buried those cartridges in the middle of the desert. It literally amazing. And I guess I'd be interested to see if anyone has any personal pieces that they feel like really redefined something for them or made them think about video gaming in general in a different way by having had played them. Because those for me are what I would consider to be a nutritional game in that genre. You can let us know in the comments down below, as always. Tell us what games work for you in that regard. Tell me if it's survival crafting game. No, it's not, probably. Maybe. There might be one. If I were to give you an example of that, for me, it would maybe Green Hell, just because I think that really did... That made me rethink the idea of what you could do with that genre, and made me very paranoid by its design. Okay, so we made you eat your greens, and you hopefully are feeling a lot richer for having done that.
Stronger, just like Popeye.
Yeah, you ate your spinach. Sorry, we had to make you do it. But since
have you been eating carrots? Because you look great. If you'd like to find out more about what we do here and see more of our show, please go to TotalPuppetKnockdown.com.
Just like a carrot, it's great. See, I did your joke back at you, and you're still wondering what I did.
No, I said you're looking great, because carrots allegedly were rumored and propagandized to make your eyes better.
Oh, I thought it was because you grate carrots.
Oh, you shred carrots.
While you're over on our website, you can find a link to our Patreon, and go and check that out for early releases of these episodes and also additional content that doesn't make it into the show. You can find us on every podcast app known to mankind. Please rate and review and subscribe. And you can also find us on Discord. We have a public Discord server, so you can feel free to check us out over there. Probably the best place to find us at this point, because social media is a dumpster fire. So probably not the best place to find information on us. Probably better to just check out our public Discord. So feel free to
or just hang out in the comments. That's fine too.
You can hang out in the comments too, under the video. It's fine. It's all good. And until next time, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode. What's it going to be about? I don't know yet, but we'll see. Talk to you later. Bye for now.
Bye.
That was a good long bye right there.